Forget the image of a silent white desert. Antarctica is not asleep, it is hungry. Welcome to the most extreme battlefield on Earth. Here, beneath miles of ice and waters that would freeze your blood in seconds, a perpetual war of mythical proportions is being waged. In this realm, life does not crawl, it explodes in impossible sizes. Prepare to immerse yourself in a world where the largest animal in history, the 180-ton blue whale, devours living clouds of krill, where orcas hunt with terrifying intelligence and leopard seals stalk like dinosaurs in the shadows. From the bloody sands where 4-ton elephant seals clash for absolute power, to the darkness of the abyss where the sperm whale challenges the monstrous colossal squid. Here, the only rule is to eat or be eaten, and endurance is measured at 60 degrees below zero. This isn't just ice and snow. This is Antarctica. Before we break the ice and dive into these frozen waters, be sure to subscribe and join our expedition. Turn on the bell right now because in Antarctica, danger strikes without warning, and you won't want to miss a single second of this survival adventure. Beneath the deceptively barren surface of the Southern Ocean, where the water is close to freezing and the pressure could crush human lungs, lies the secret to all existence in this white desert. We leave the mountains behind and dive into the bluish darkness to find the true protagonist of this story. It is not a beast with sharp fangs, but a translucent and modest creature barely 6 centimeters long. The Antarctic krill. At first glance, a single specimen seems insignificant, a small crustacean frantically waving its legs in the vastness of the sea. However, its power does not lie in the individual, but in the collective. These animals are the biological battery of the entire continent. Driven by nutrient-rich currents, they congregate in numbers that defy imagination, forming titanic swarms that can stretch for miles and reach a density of up to 30,000 individuals per cubic meter. These living clouds are so dense that they stain the water a deep red and pink, colossal blobs of life visible even from Earth's orbit. Their life cycle is a race against hunger and time. During the winter, when the sun disappears and the surface freezes, adult krill perform a critical survival maneuver. They attach themselves to the underside of sea ice. There, using specialized appendages like rakes, they graze on microscopic algae growing in the cracks in the ice, converting trapped sunlight into edible energy. They are, in essence, the alchemists of Antarctica, transforming phytoplankton into the fat and protein that will sustain the entire ecosystem. Without their tireless gathering, 90% of the species inhabiting these latitudes would simply vanish into oblivion. But this abundance comes at a terrible price. For krill, the ocean is not a home, but a three-dimensional minefield. Every movement, every flash of their bioluminescence in the darkness can attract the attention of death. For to almost all the other inhabitants of this realm, krill are the only currency for surviving another day. Where krill attract life, they also attract death in its most sophisticated and terrifying form. The immense pink clouds of crustaceans suddenly open up, not to be devoured, but to give way to the true architects of fear in these waters. Crossing the school with the indifference of a king walking among his subjects, the unmistakable silhouette of the orca emerges. Here, in the frigid south, brute force is secondary to this predator's most lethal weapon, an astonishing mind. We are not dealing with a simple animal, but with an intelligence that rivals our own in a disturbing way. Orcas don't just hunt, they plan, communicate in complex dialects, and pass on culture from generation to generation. In these waters, they operate under a strict matriarchy, where the grandmother leads with the wisdom accumulated over decades, teaching the younger ones not only where to find food, but how to execute maneuvers with military precision. They are the absolute masters of the ocean, sitting at the top of a food pyramid that they dominate unopposed. Their coordination is such that they function as a single 6-ton organism distributed across several bodies. As they patrol among the ice floes, their biological echo sounders create a 3-dimensional map of the environment, detecting even the heartbeat of prey hundreds of meters away. No creature is safe from their reach. Their diet and capacity are so vast that they are known to break the will of large whales after hours of pursuit or dismantle white sharks in other latitudes with surgical precision to consume their livers. In Antarctica, their ingenuity reaches a chilling level with wave hunting. Upon locating a seal resting on a floating ice block, the pod does not attack directly. Instead, they swim in tight formation, synchronizing their tails to generate a perfect artificial wave that sweeps across the surface of the ice, throwing the unfortunate victim into the water and directly into their jaws. It is a demonstration of applied physics and teamwork that confirms their status. In this frozen wilderness, if krill is energy, the orca is the relentless will that decides when and how that energy is extinguished. To escape the tyranny of the orcas and the lethality of the open ocean, life must retreat to a place where even the apex predator cannot follow, the solid and treacherous surface of the eternal ice. While the giants of the sea patrol the depths, a solemn and silent march begins on the white crust, a pilgrimage that defies reason. Here, standing tall against the wind, we find the undisputed icon of this polar desert, the emperor penguin. This is no ordinary bird. It is a titan of biological endurance. While the rest of the fauna flees northward in search of the relative warmth of subantarctic waters as winter approaches, the emperor does the unthinkable. It turns its back on the ocean and walks inland. It is the only vertebrate animal on Earth that dares to reproduce during the brutal Antarctic winter, a time when the continent becomes the most hostile place in the known universe. Its evolutionary gamble is the most dramatic in nature. In the perpetual darkness of the polar night, facing hurricane-force winds and temperatures that plummet to 60 degrees below zero, the female lays a single precious egg, but her energy reserves are depleted. She must return to the sea to feed or she will die. In an act of absolute trust and delicate coordination, she transfers the egg to the male's feet. It is a critical maneuver. If the egg touches the ice for more than a few seconds, the life inside will be instantly extinguished. With the female leaving for the coast, the male stays behind, transforming himself into a living incubator. For 115 days, he will eat nothing. His survival and that of his offspring depend on an unbreakable brotherhood. To keep from freezing, the males form a compact mass, an immense collective embrace where they continuously rotate positions, moving from the icy edge to the warm center of the group in a slow swirl of feathers and steam. It is a dance of extreme cooperation. Selfishness here means death for all. Enduring hunger and blizzards, they remain standing, stoic guardians of the next generation, awaiting the return of their mates and the first crackle of life beneath their abdominal folds. Emperor penguin males withstand winter's siege on the ice, the Earth's rotation finally bringing a promise of relief. The sun returns, the temperature rises, and the sea ice begins to fracture, reopening the doors to the aquatic world. It is at this moment, when the ocean regains its dominion over the frozen surface, that the deep waters welcome a visitor that makes everything we have seen so far seem insignificant. If the orca is the wolf of the sea, what now glides beneath the keel of the icebergs is a living mountain. A colossal shadow darkens the seabed, so vast that it defies visual comprehension. It is the blue whale, the absolute giant. It is not only the largest animal alive today, it is the most massive creature that has ever existed in the history of our planet, surpassing in weight even the most titanic sauropod dinosaurs that walked the Earth millions of years ago. To see it glide through the abyss is to witness the holy grail of marine biology, an event that silences even the most experienced observers. Its scale is astronomical. It can reach 30 meters in length and weigh up to 180 tons. To put it in perspective, its tongue weighs as much as an adult elephant, and its heart, a biological machine the size of a small car, pumps liters of blood through arteries so wide that a human child could crawl through them. Despite its godlike size, it is a gentle giant whose existence closes the circle of Antarctic life by returning to the beginning of our story, krill. This leviathan has traveled thousands of miles driven by a voracious hunger, arriving in these cold waters with a single purpose. With surprising acceleration, it opens its dislocatable jaws to gulp down a mass of water equivalent to its own body weight. Its baleen keratin plates hanging from the palate act as a colossal filter, trapping millions of tiny krill as it expels the water. In a single day of frenzied feeding, it must consume up to 4 tons of these crustaceans to maintain its immense metabolism. They are solitary creatures, nomads of the deep blue who communicate through infrasonic frequencies capable of traveling across entire oceans, a song of solitude and power that connects individuals separated by hundreds of kilometers. Their presence here is a reminder that Antarctica is a place of extremes, where the smallest, krill, directly sustains the largest, without intermediaries, in a dance of pure energy and incomprehensible scale. Are you breathless at the majesty of the blue whale? If this 180-ton giant has impressed you, hit that like button with the force of a leviathan. Let's make the support for this video as massive as the largest animal that has ever existed. As the colossal blue whale disappears into the pelagic abyss, we leave behind the serenity of the gentle giants and approach the coastline, where floating icebergs collide with each other, creating a treacherous labyrinth. In these shallow, dark waters, the atmosphere changes dramatically. Reverential respect turns into palpable tension as we enter the territory of Antarctica's undisputed villain. Sliding through the shadows of the ice with an unsettling sinuosity, the leopard seal appears. Forget the clumsy and adorable image of common seals. This animal seems to have escaped from a forgotten era. With its huge, flattened head, long, muscular neck, and expressionless black eyes, it is the closest thing to a marine reptile that exists today. It is the velociraptor of these waters, a living fossil designed to kill. Its behavior is that of a solitary and lethal patrolman. While orcas rely on teamwork, the leopard seal is an individualistic killer that dominates the coastal ice through ambush and psychological terror. It can measure over 3 meters long and weigh up to 500 kilograms, but it moves with a fluid and silent grace, almost serpentine. Its mouth is a perfect biological trap. It has an unusually flexible jaw and terrifying dual dentition. In front, sharp fangs to tear warm flesh. In the back, intricately shaped molars that fit together like a zipper, allowing it to filter krill when larger prey is scarce. An evolutionary connection to the base of the food chain that it never completely abandons. However, it is its interaction with penguins that has earned it its sinister reputation. It patrols the edges of the ice, waiting for the exact moment when the birds, driven by hunger, must jump into the water. It is a game of Russian roulette for the penguins. When the leopard seal catches one, the scene becomes brutally primitive. It shakes its prey with frenzied violence against the surface of the water, a movement calculated to skin the animal and break its bones before ingesting it. Unlike other predators that kill strictly out of immediate necessity, leopard seals have been observed playing with their prey, releasing them and recapturing them in a macabre dance of dominance. They are curious, bold, and fear nothing but killer whales. If you meet its gaze underwater, you will see neither fear nor innocent curiosity, but the cold, calculating assessment of a predator that knows that, in its domain of broken ice, it is the master of your destiny. The leopard seal reigns with terror in the shallow coastal waters bathed in sunlight, but there is a final frontier in Antarctica where the light disappears completely. We leave the floating ice behind and enter the open sea, where the ocean floor plunges into the abyss. Here the pressure is crushing and the darkness absolute, but it is the scene of nature's most legendary and titanic battle. Above the waves, the largest toothed predator on the planet takes a deep breath, the sperm whale. With a body that can exceed 18 meters in length and an unmistakable square head that houses the largest brain on Earth, this giant prepares for a journey to the underworld. It expels air, collapses its lungs to withstand the pressure, and descends in a nosedive, leaving the world of men behind to enter the midnight zone, more than 2,000 meters deep. Its target is not krill or small fish. It seeks a monster. In the icy depths, floating in silent weightlessness, awaits the most massive invertebrate known to science, the colossal squid. Often confused with the giant squid, the colossal is even heavier, more robust, and more fearsome. It is a cryptozoological nightmare made flesh. To navigate this darkness, it has developed the largest eyes in the animal kingdom, the size of basketballs, designed to detect the faintest glimmer of bioluminescence or disturbance in the water that heralds the arrival of its executioner. The encounter is a clash of primitive violence that humans have rarely witnessed. The sperm whale uses its biological sonar, emitting clicks so powerful that they can stun its prey or vibrate through its body like a sonic X-ray. But the squid is no passive victim. It is a formidable warrior armed with 8 arms and 2 long tentacles. Unlike other cephalopods that only have suction cups, the colossal squid has sharp, blade-like rotating hooks on its limbs. In the darkness, chaos ensues. The sperm whale attempts to swallow the squid whole or in massive chunks, while the squid desperately wraps itself around the cetacean's head, digging its hooks into the giant's thick skin in a frantic attempt to avoid being devoured. We know this battle takes place not because we have often filmed it, but because of the scars. The sperm whales emerge to the surface panting and victorious, but their bodies are covered with battle marks, circular patterns and deep scratches that tell the story of a fight to the death in the loneliest place on Earth. The sperm whale catches its breath at the surface, swaying heavily after its duel in the darkness, but the ocean around it does not remain calm. Far from the silent, solitary war of the abyss, the surface waters become the stage for a noisy, acrobatic, and deeply cooperative spectacle. Here, breaking the barrier between sea and sky, the humpback whale enters the scene. If the blue whale is size and the sperm whale is mystery, the humpback is pure charisma. It is the acrobat of the southern seas. Suddenly, a 40-ton mass defies gravity, launching its 15-meter body completely out of the water to fall with a thunderous crash that sounds like a cannon shot, visible and audible from miles away. Its pectoral fins, the longest of any cetacean, measure up to 5 meters and act as immense wings, allowing it a maneuverability that belies its colossal weight. But behind these spectacular leaps, which serve both to communicate and to rid themselves of parasites, lies a brilliant strategic mind. In Antarctica, humpbacks do not compete for food with brute force, but with mathematics and teamwork. They are masters of a hunting technique so complex that it can only be described as fluid engineering. The bubble net. A group of whales detects a school of krill or small fish. They do not attack randomly. They dive and organize themselves with specific roles like a tactical squad. A lead whale positions itself below the school and begins to swim in a spiral toward the surface, expelling air through its blowhole in a controlled manner. The bubbles rise, forming a visual and acoustic barrier, a cylinder of effervescent air that frightens and confines the prey in an increasingly narrow center. Meanwhile, other whales vocalize terrifying sounds to push the prey upward toward the trap. When the circle closes and the food density is at its maximum, the entire group launches vertically toward the surface with their mouths wide open, swallowing thousands of pounds of food in a single synchronized bite. It is a demonstration of animal culture. This technique is not instinctive. It is learned, perfected, and passed on, proving that in the frozen south, intelligence is as vital as body fat. The cooperation and acrobatics of the humpback whales reign in the open sea, the tide dragging us back to shore. But here, on the windswept volcanic gravel beaches, there is no room for elegance or teamwork. We leave the aquatic dance behind to witness a spectacle of pure brute force, a natural coliseum where violence is the only law. Emerging from the waves like rocks that have come to life, the ultimate heavyweight of the Antarctic coast crawls, the southern elephant seal. If the leopard seal was a stealthy killer, this animal is a biological war tank. The males are monstrosities of nature that defy logical scale. They can measure up to 6 meters long and reach an astonishing 4 tons in weight. They are so massive that when they move on land, their fat ripples like jelly. But don't be fooled. Beneath that layer of insulation is musculature capable of crushing bones. Their name comes from their most grotesque and distinctive feature, a fleshy, inflatable proboscis that hangs over their mouth, similar to a trunk. This is not just an ornament, it is a sound box. During breeding season, the beach becomes a sonic hell where these giants roar, amplifying their bellowing through their noses to intimidate rivals and assert their dominance. Life here is ruled by an absolute tyranny known as the beachmaster system, a single dominant male The beachmaster controls a harem that can exceed 100 females. The biological prize is immense, the exclusive right to mate and pass on his genes. But the cost is constant warfare. Frustrated, testosterone-fueled bachelors besiege the territory's boundaries, looking for any weakness in the leader. When vocal threats fail, the most visceral physical violence in Antarctica is unleashed. 2,4,000-pound males rise up on their bellies, lifting 2/3 of their bodies into the air to crash chest to chest with the force of 2 cars colliding. It is not a technical fight. It is a battle of attrition and pain. They use their upper canines to slash and tear the thick skin of their opponent's neck. The fights are bloody, brutal, and exhausting, leaving the beach stained red and the combatants covered in deep scars. Here, survival is not enough. It is about conquest, and only the largest and most ruthless manage to pass on their legacy to the next generation. We have survived the clutches of the cold, the jaws of the killer whale, and the brutality of the elephant seal. But before the final polar night falls, I want to hear from you in the comments. Which of these titans is the true king of Antarctica? Your opinion is vital in deciding the fate of our next documentary mission. And so, as the roars of the elephant seals fade into the relentless polar wind, the cycle closes once again. We have traveled from the microscopic spark of krill, the battery that powers this world, to the incomprehensible immensity of the blue whale. We have descended into the black abyss to witness the eternal mourning of the sperm whale, and we have endured on the ice alongside the stoic emperor penguin. In this white desert, we have learned that beauty and brutality are 2 sides of the same coin. Here, the intelligence of the killer whale and the brute strength of the leopard seal are not cruelty, they are necessity. In this frozen realm, weakness is a death sentence, and each sunrise is a conquest paid for with endurance and blood. As the sun begins to set again, heralding the arrival of another brutal winter, we retreat. But they remain, guarding the secrets of the South, defying the impossible. Because at the end of the world, only the strongest, only the true giants can call this hell home.